Byron Buxton walks off the Baltimore Orioles. Lot to talk about on today's episode of Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Minnesota Twins podcast. Today is Friday. Happy Friday, July 1st. And I'm your gracious host, Nash Walker. Thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Again, this is Nash Walker. This is my third season hosting daily podcasts talking about the Minnesota Twins. This is my fourth season writing about the team at twinsdaily.com. And I apologize. Yesterday, I was in Las Vegas with my family, so I did not have an episode yesterday. I promise. I didn't just choose to skip another bullpen meltdown. I would have loved to talk about it. It killed me that I couldn't talk about that last night. We'll focus on the good things today because Byron Buxton hit a walk-off homer against the Baltimore Orioles in a game that looked like the Twins were, done. They were going to lose. And this is a very important series for the Twins. And maybe I say that for every series, but this is an important series because that Cleveland series was enough heartbreak. The last week against Cleveland was enough heartbreak for a first half, much less like a season. That's enough for a season of heartbreak, blowing so many games like Tyler Thornburg yesterday. Twins blow that game. They blow another lead. It's like clockwork with this bullpen. It's been so bad. They need this series. They need to take 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. Listen, I know Baltimore's playing better baseball. You saw it tonight. The Twins needed a big swing at the end to win that game by 1 run. They needed to walk off one of the best relievers in baseball this year to win that game. The Orioles are better. I know that. The Twins need to win 2 out of 3. I don't care that Baltimore is better. Yes, they are. And I'm happy for their fan base. I'm happy for Baltimore that the Orioles are playing better baseball, that they had their first winning month in 5 years or whatever. That doesn't mean if the Orioles take this series from the Twins, you're like, tip of the cap to the Orioles. They're playing really good. But no, the Twins need to win this series at home. And this felt like it was going to be a loss, and the offense just shut down after the first inning. And the Twins offense has done this sometimes this year where they'll get a great chance. And I think this happens to a lot of offenses, especially against pitchers who are throwing well. And Watkins was good tonight. He was good. They'll get a threat in the first inning or the second inning. Tonight it was the first inning. They loaded the bases. They had a great threat. They score a run on a Miranda single, and Correa's thrown out at the plate. And you figure okay, well, they'll parlay that into getting to Watkins. They put together some great at-bats in the first inning. I thought the at-bats for the rest of the game were mostly poor. I thought the at-bats against Watkins after the first inning were mostly poor. They looked confused. They were getting locked up. And Watkins, I thought, pitched well. As I said, I thought he pitched well. But the at-bats after the first inning were not good. And this looked like a game the Twins are going to lose. Cedric Mullins ties the game with an RBI double off Joe Ryan, who was fantastic tonight. We'll talk about Joe today. And then Caleb Thielbar gives up a run, and an error from Polanco throwing home, and it hits the runner, and he scores. And Ryan McKenna killed the Twins tonight. He made a great catch in left field and then doubled to lead off. I think that was the 8th inning against Caleb Thielbar, and then they end up scoring, taking a 2-1 lead. And the Twins have to put themselves in a tough spot. They put themselves in a tough spot, needing a run or 2 off of Jorge Lopez in the 9th inning, and luckily Byron Buxton came through. We'll talk about him today. But this looked like a game the Twins were going to lose. And so many of the last, 8 games against Cleveland, 5 of them felt like they were going to win, and they lost. So they needed this. And I know that was kind of the feeling tonight. The Twins needed this. It was big to get this because you needed to steal a game back that you look like you were going to lose. When you'd given away so many games, you look like you were going to win. And that's what they did tonight. I think tonight, Byron Buxton's swing reinforces, and we say this constantly, and I'll continue to say it throughout the season because it is so, so, so true and important. At the end of the day, I wouldn't say that the Twins ride or die with Byron Buxton where, this team will go as far as Byron Buxton takes it, because it's a scary proposition. In some ways, it's true. The ceiling of this team is revolved around, yes, Carlos Correa, yes, Jorge Polanco, yes, Luis Arraez, yes, the top half of the roster, Joe Ryan. But it's Byron Buxton, because nobody on this team can do what Byron Buxton can do. That includes Correa. I think Buxton can do things that very few players in the world can do. And I think Carlos Correa is a superstar, and I think he's one of the best players in the game. Very few can do what Buxton can do. And that doesn't mean he's consistent. He's not consistent. We've seen it this year. He's had stretches where he's unbelievable, stretches where he can't hit a lick, and it's frustrating to watch. He also sits a lot, but he gets sat because he has such a long injury history, and that's frustrating for everybody, and especially frustrating for him. Who gets to a slider like that? Jorge Lopez hasn't given up a home run all year. And that's what I mean. This is a great example and another reminder that he can do things like turning around on a 101-mile-an-hour fastball from Andres Munoz in the opening series to hit a home run, 101 at the top of the zone. A good slider. Like, it wasn't a bad pitch. He left it over the middle a little too much, but Buxton reached out and just poked that thing over the left center field fence. He can do things that not a lot of people can do. Not a lot of players in the world can do. And tonight was another example of that. And it was a reminder of how important Byron Buxton is to this team. We've been saying it for how many years. It's never been more true. Even when the Twins are good, even when they're in first place, even when the Twins, are struggling, it's still, who does everybody look at? You look at Byron Buxton. And maybe that's true for every star on every team. But it's because Byron Buxton makes such an impact on this team, makes such an impact on a day-to-day basis, for better or for worse, that it's vital that he does things like this for you, and that he can change games, and he can change games with one swing, one catch, one play, and he did it tonight. And we've actually been able to see it a lot this year because he's been able to stay off the injured list, knock on wood, but he's got 21 home runs, and he set a career high, and he's not on the injured list, and the plan is working for him right now, and I'm so glad it is because we get to see what happened tonight. Let's talk about Joe. I thought Joe was great. We'll talk about him after this word from BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs, now over, but come back next year, and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Again, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. BetOnline is where the game starts. Joe Ryan looked like Joe Ryan tonight, didn't he? This was Joe Ryan, 7-inning, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. Velo is there. When I say velo's down for Joe Ryan, I don't mean, his velo's never going to be in the mid-90s. It'll reach 93, 94. What you look for from Joe Ryan, he'll tell you a lot in the first couple innings. I've learned that about him in 16 major league starts now or whatever it is. He'll show you a lot, and I think you can learn a lot from him in the first inning about what's to come in that game. And it's not always true. It's not a foolproof way to go about it. But I watched him in the first inning tonight, and I saw him hitting 93 regularly. And he's not going to be 93 all night, but he's going to settle in at 91, 92, and that's where he needs to be. He can't be 89, 90 and be successful consistently. He needs to be 91, 92. That extra bump is huge, and it doesn't sound like much. It's a lot. So when he's 93 in the first inning, you feel good. He looks good. His stuff looks good, and he was spotting it up. I thought he was fantastic tonight. Maybe could have gone to him for another inning in the 8th, but that was pushing it. You can't just not use your bullpen at all for how bad they've been. You can't just be like, scrap the bullpen. We're going to go starters for 9 innings a night. As fun as that would be and as great as that would be for the Twins to be able to do, this is still a pitcher who doesn't have a ton of innings on his arm. You need to take care of, still coming back from COVID. This was a big step in the right direction for Joe Ryan. And it's against an offense that, as I said, they've played better baseball. And this isn't like a terrible lineup. It's not a good lineup, but it's not, a basement barrel lineup. They can hit some homers. They got some good players. Seth Mullins is good. He got to Joe a little bit with that double, but I thought he was fantastic. That's the best he's looked since he came off the COVID list. He looked like Joe Ryan before the COVID list tonight. So hopefully he can parlay that and turn it into more good starts and just keep doing that. And 7 innings, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, not going to happen every single start, but just consistently, the stuff is there. He executed. He got it done. Ryan Jeffers left this game, took a foul ball off the mask. Hope Ryan's okay. If not, you'll probably see Jose Godoy come up and tandem with Gary Sanchez, maybe a little platoon tandem there with Godoy. We'll see. I don't know on Rye. Hopefully he's okay. This is a win the Twins needed, really, at the end of all of it. They needed that win. They needed that swing from Byron Buxton. They needed that start from Joe Ryan. And it can be very simple. Baseball is such a funny game, right? It's so slippery. And we saw that a lot with the Twins leads. They're leading 10-7, but it's slippery. You give up a couple hits, it's like, ooh, now the tying runs at the plate. It's very easy to fall out of control in baseball. It's still a simple game. And you look at the Twins roster and you say, who's going to impact, them most this year? It's their best players. They need Joe Ryan to come through. And before the season, and probably a couple weeks into the season, I would say their best players are Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, and, maybe Jorge Polanco. And now it's Luis Arraez who's like inserted himself prominently into that conversation. How about Louis putting together just a tremendous at bat? That swing doesn't happen without Luis Arraez. So he's the MVP this year for the Twins. I mean, we're into July, and he is unquestionably the MVP this year for as many solid moments as Byron Buxton has had, how many times he's come through. He's got 21 home runs. Luis Arraez is the MVP of this team for more than one reason. He does what he did in the ninth inning so much. It makes you feel so confident when he's at the plate. And that does not happen without Luis Arraez putting together a vintage Luis Arraez plate appearance, which would be, the plate appearance of the year for a lot of players. And he just does it. That's what he does. And he was tremendous in the ninth inning to get a hit off Jorge Lopez, who's super tough. And I want the Twins to trade for this guy. I'm very, I'm open about that. I want them to trade for Jorge Lopez. How good would he look with Yohan Duran back there? Maybe get that slider down a little bit more. But like I said, only Byron Buxton maybe can get to that slider and hit it out for a home run. Yeah, they needed that win. Credit to Luis Arraez and credit to Joe Ryan and credit to Byron Buxton. It's the best players on this team. The best players are going to dictate whether the team wins or loses. And if they perform, Joe Ryan hadn't been performing. And he went out tonight, he performed. Byron Buxton performed. Luis Arraez performed. And their best players came through. And their best players are better than the Orioles' best players. That's the difference between these two clubs. If Byron Buxton shows up and Carlos Correa shows up and Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray show up, Luis Arraez shows up, the Twins can sweep this series. And it didn't happen consistently tonight. They didn't show up 1 through 9. The lineup struggled. They were no hit, I think there were no hit from the second through the 8th inning. Nothing there. There was nothing there offensively after the bases were loaded in the first. You just need that swing. You need that swing from Byron Buxton. And this is a big win because you didn't want these things to stack. I always talk about stacking. And tonight was another prominent example of the Twins had scored a lot of runs against Cleveland, like enough where they should have won a lot of games. Your offense can't score 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 runs a night. You're going to have nights like this where, for whatever reason, you're locked up against Spencer Watkins. It happens. It happens to the Yankees. It happens to the Astros. The Yankees were no hit by Christian Javier, who's been very good his last 2 outings. It happens to the best teams. It happens. The Twins need to win that game because they'd given away the games where they scored a bunch of runs, right? They scored 10 runs and lost 11-10 at Target Field. They scored 6 runs and lost 7-6 in Cleveland. Tonight, they scored 3 runs. They needed to win, and they did. You have to win those games sometimes, especially when you continue to lose the games that you should win. This bullpen's a problem. Obviously, this bullpen's a problem. It's become a glaring problem, like a potentially disastrous problem, and they need to fix it. So I didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday. I'll touch on the bullpen more today. I've been saying it since April that this bullpen is weak, or that the back end at least is weak. I thought they'd be able to churn out some 6th, 7th inning guys. And, credit to Juan Minaya tonight. Credit to Theobar, even though Theobar gave up the run. I don't know if that was earned or not. I didn't see the box score. But credit to Theobar for straining the runner at second. Credit to Minaya for straining the runner to keep the Twins in this ballgame. I was confident they were going to be able to produce like Manaya's and Theobar's because they did last year. Minaya was good for the Twins last year. Theobar was good for the Twins last year as like middle relief guys. I was concerned that the back end lacked high leverage options. I didn't think Emilio Pagan was this bad. I didn't think they were this shallow. I thought Tyler Duffy was going to be better, and credit to Duffy for yesterday. He was, very good in his outing yesterday, and hopefully he can turn it on and pitch better. I don't expect him to become like a closing option for the Twins, but just pitch better. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I didn't think it was going to be good. When they had Taylor Rogers, you can go back to my episodes, like when they had Taylor Rogers in the offseason, I said, I think this bullpen has a chance to be really good with Rogers and Duran. Even at that point, I was high on Yohan Duran. And that was before he even moved to the bullpen. I was high on him as an option because I thought, okay, you got Duran and Rogers on the back end. You have Tyler Duffy, who was great down the stretch last year, pitched well. You have Jorge Alcala, who was exceptional down the stretch last year. There's 4 right there, and they had middle relief guys. They've been able to churn those guys out, the Manias, the Theobars, then Griffin Jackson enters the picture. So I thought they had a lot of arms. And then they traded Rogers, and then Alcala got hurt, and all of a sudden it's only Duran back there. And they brought in Pagan, who has hurt them. He's hurt them more than he's helped at all. So he brought them down. He's a submarine. He's not a trampoline. And that's why this bullpen looks so bad. What also helps tonight is that the Twins saved all their bullpen arms in one. Yohan Duran didn't pitch. Griffin Jackson didn't pitch. I will say, I've gotten some comments that I'm saying Yohan Duran and everybody else. I agree. I'm sorry to Griffin Jax. I'm sorry I haven't mentioned him more. It's Jax, Duran, and everybody else. I just think Duran is so good that Jax is on a different level, but it's not a bad level. Jax is on a good level. So it is Duran, Jax, and everybody else. They didn't use Duran or Jax tonight, is my point. It used to be, they didn't use Duran, Jax, or Pagan tonight. It's probably a good thing they didn't use Pagan tonight, right? It's become that for the Twins. They're not going to go out and get a reliever before the deadline. They're going to go into the All-Star break. They're going to go beyond the All-Star break. I don't think they're going to go get a reliever right now. They're going to live with this group, and they're going to try to find ways to get better. And it might be scary and not fun to watch like it has been to this point. But I just don't see them overpaying for a reliever before the trade deadline. It's a nice thought. How nice would it be if they traded for Jorge Lopez tonight and just added him into their bullpen? How much better would you feel? A lot better, but they're not going to overpay because the Orioles are sitting there and they're going, why the hell will we trade Jorge Lopez today? We can wait till the deadline and, sell and field all these offers from all these contenders who need relievers. And then we can choose from all these different packages. We don't have to take the Twins package on July 1st when the deadline's not for another month. It's just not viable. It's not feasible. And also, if you're the Orioles, let Jorge Lopez go out there, for better or worse, pitch. And tonight it was for worse. He gives up a home run. Let him go out there and pitch. He hadn't given up a run in 15 outings or whatever, and build his value and continue to show that he's legit. I mean, this is a guy who had a 5+ ERA in Kansas City. Let him show that he's legit. And that's kind of the feeling for, I think, a lot of clubs who have relievers and pitchers and players other teams want, the contenders want. Let them go play. Let them show off. Let Frankie Montas go 7 no-hit innings against the Mariners. Let all your pitchers and players do that. And then when the trade deadline comes, you go, look at what they've done. And you take a slight risk there. You can sell high on a Jorge Lopez. You take a risk as a team that's selling, but it gives you that luxury. I mean, look at the Twins with Jose Barrios, and this package of Austin Martin and Simeon Woods-Richardson has not turned out, I think, how they would have hoped this year. But they fielded offers at the deadline, and they picked the best package for them, and it was Austin Martin and Simeon Woods-Richardson. And, they had that luxury of teams calling them. It was a seller's market where these teams were calling and wanting Jose Barrios, and you didn't know which way he was going to go. Is he going to go to Toronto? Is he going to go to San Diego? Where's he going? And they ended up liking the Blue Jays package best. So that's how it works, and that's how it's going to work for the Twins. So what you have to do is just cross your fingers when you wander around or Griffin Jax is not in the game and just hope that the damage is limited. What a swing from Byron Buxton. Absolutely beautiful. Love that. Twins win. Go for the series win Saturday with Sonny Gray taking on Jordan Lyles. They should hit the snot out of Jordan Lyles if they don't. I'll be a little grossed out. We'll join you for a postcast tomorrow, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thank you so much for watching today. Thanks for being patient with me. I know I was gone, and people are wondering, did you not record because the Twins blew it? No, I didn't record because I was in Las Vegas. I lost my voice. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again for listening. Have a great day. Go Byron Buxton, and go Minnesota Twins.